Week 4 drained all the magic out of quarterbacks Ryan Tannehill and Ryan Fitzpatrick. And it seems like over half the tight ends that are fantasy relevant are either injured or hurt. But don't worry, surprisingly, there are tons of great quality and quantity waiver wire pickups on this video. All that coming right up. This video is sponsored by Pro Football Focus. They watch every play of every player. Their grades are awesome. I personally love the wide receiver cornerback matchup chart. I love looking at their weekly matchups. And now they have PFF Fantasy, which is a trustworthy source. I would not promote these guys if I didn't trust them, if they weren't so well respected. Make sure to get PFF Edge today. Get full access for PFF's player projections, fantasy draft resources, matchup charts, and of course, their award-winning fantasy content. Use promo code MVP20 to save 20% on your subscription. And if you're into high stakes and NFL lines like I am, you can also get PFF Elite. That's what I got. So make sure you guys sign up at profootballfocus.com and use promo code MVP20 to save 20%. Join PFF Fantasy today and prepare to win. Also, guys, it'll really help support this channel. Thank you so much. Like last week, this week there are only 2 teams on bye as well, and those are the Bears and the Bucks. Why do I even have Andrew Luck on this list? Well, just recently, 5% of fantasy owners dropped Andrew Luck. That amounts to about a couple million fantasy owners dropped Andrew Luck just before he exploded week 4 against the Houston Texans. That shows a lot about Andrew Luck, that he's ready to go, he's fully recovered, and it shows a lot about the Houston Texans. Oh boy, is their secondary awful. So even though he's owned in nearly 80% of leagues, there's a good chance that he was dropped recently. Go ahead and add him. This guy is a really good quarterback. Number 2, and man, we have a lot of good ones here. Alex Smith could be a shootout, and Washington is coming off a bye. They should be fully rested. Number 3, we have Andy Dalton. This guy is the real deal. He's a top 10 quarterback in fantasy. I started him last week, and man, he's good. Tyler Boyd has been really good. AJ Green, of course, is there. Unfortunately, he did lose Tyler Eifert, one of his favorite targets. Even though he was on somewhat of a snap count, I have to downgrade Andy Dalton a little bit because that's just how good Tyler Eifert is, but not too much. They still have 2 other tight ends there in Cincinnati, and man, Andy Dalton should continue to play well. That offensive line has not been horrible. Baker Mayfield, pretty risky here, but I still believe in the upside of Baker. Joe Flacco, oh my, man, this guy, I don't know how many yards he's going to throw for. I don't know how many touchdowns he's going to throw for this year, but he's on pace to throw a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns. Every week he continues to surprise us. He's been playing really well. Borderline elite quarterback in fantasy. I can't believe I just said that. Joe Flacco is back. Number 6, Dak Prescott, a guy I really hate. He can't really pass the ball that well. He doesn't throw a lot of yards. But guess what? He's playing the Houston Texans. He should be able to do some things this week. A great streaming quarterback. For example, I'm in a 20-team league. Don't ask me why I decided to do that, but I do have Dak Prescott as my backup quarterback. I have Aaron Rodgers as my starting quarterback. If you're in a shallow league or you have a great quarterback, there's a lot of them this year. A lot of really good fantasy quarterbacks. You probably don't need Dak Prescott, so we're definitely getting into more deeper league territory. Blake Bortles going against the Chiefs. Every time the opposing quarterback goes against Patrick Mahomes, there's always a lot of upside here. Could be a shootout. That's why I have Blake Bortles here. I see him having a great game week 5, and you could definitely rank him ahead of Dak Prescott this week. Then we have Mitchell Trubisky. I think that last game was sort of a fluke, but also shows that Trubisky isn't as whack as we thought. Now, the Buccaneers defense is whack, that's for sure. But throwing 6 touchdowns, that's still pretty impressive, finding the open guys right away and throwing it, chucking the ball down the field. Trubisky, he is on bye this week, so you don't necessarily have to put in a waiver claim, but maybe you add him off free agency. Don't waste a waiver claim or don't waste too much FAAB budget on him if you can get him off free agency and if you have the room on your bench to support a bye week player. Then we have Marcus Mariota, who had a surprisingly good week 4 performance. He's going against the Bills. I just don't see a lot of upside with Mariota against the Bills. They don't need to throw it a lot. The defense should be able to do their job and easily get this W against the Bills. Derek Carr going against the Chargers. The Chargers without Joey Bosa actually have a horrible defense, and this is a great matchup for Derek Carr. It's kind of weird that I'm on the 10th quarterback and Derek Carr is a decent start week 5. Like, there's that many good quarterbacks. Jameis Winston, he has the upside, but because he's on bye, because the Bucs organization continues to be a huge disappointment, one way or another, they continue to disappoint us and just underperform. So that's why he's so risky. He has the upside, but in a land full of all these good fantasy quarterbacks, you don't need to rush and put in a waiver claim for Jameis Winston. By the way, he is on bye this week as well. Also got Case Keenum going against the Jets, Ryan Tannehill, Gross going against the Bengals, CJ Beathard, Eli Manning, who I don't get my feelings hurt a lot in fantasy, but who hurt my feelings a couple weeks ago? Oh, the Saints defense. The Saints defense hurt my feelings week 1, and Eli Manning really hurt my feelings last week. I thought he'd have a good game, thought that'd be a shootout, but the Giants just continue to show us that they can't put up a lot of points. And he can't throw the ball down the field. I mean, you got Odell Beckham. Like, come on, what's going on? Josh Rosen in super duper deep leagues, Sam Darnold and Josh Allen. You don't want to pick that guy up, I'm sure. But it's a very extensive list. That's how we do it. And number 1, I got to start off with TJ Yeldon because Fournette just can't stay on the field. Like, what's the over/under games he's gonna play this year? 8, or how many games will Fournette start? Like, yeah, it's not looking good. And the Jaguars are a decent team. I know you got Corey Grant right there, breathing down his neck. But if Fournette is out, Yeldon's pretty much a good start just about every week. And number 2, really proud of my guy, Nyheim Hines. I had him on my bench and I actually own him in half my leagues. Just a guy I was really high on before the season. And I knew this was a risky pick. I knew it wasn't like anything close to being a for sure pick. But for a running back that was being drafted around round 12, round 13, sometimes round 14 or later, even in 12-team PPR leagues, he's been looking really well, and what's really surprised even me, a guy that I put as possibly being this year's Kamara. I'm going to mispronounce a lot of names this week, and, that's how I do it. But he is a great wide receiver. I'll just call him a receiver because he's a running back. He's a really great receiver, and Andrew Luck trusts him. I see him getting a lot of targets every week. And those weeks that Marlon Mack is out, he gets a lot of snaps and a lot of receptions. We just saw last week 2 receiving touchdowns. He absolutely killed it. This is a must pick up, I would say, in deep PPR leagues. I mean, he's a great stash at the very least. And Marlon Mack has played, 1 game this year so far. He's constantly hurt. And just like I suspected with Wilkins, like, he's okay at everything, but not great at anything specific. Nyheim Hines is great at something specific, being a receiver, being a pass-catching running back, and he's really quick. So, man, I like Hines. And another good thing about Hines is when Marlon Mack does return, he will continue to have that role. And I've always compared him to a guy like Darren Sproles. I like Ronald Jones as a runner, but I'm just going to keep it real. I don't think there's too many running backs in the league, maybe a few at most, maybe a couple that would have any success in Tampa Bay. It doesn't seem to matter which running back it is. So although I am a little bit happy that I drafted Ronald Jones in a couple leagues and that he's stopped being a healthy scratch, I'm tempering my expectations and just being realistic. Like, this Tampa team is a mess and they are on bye, so I'm not going to rank them any higher than number 3. That alone is actually pretty high as it is on this list. Number 4, we have Mike Davis. Even though Chris Carson may return really soon, Mike Davis will be involved in this running back rotation. We have a pretty messy RB committee here in Seattle, folks. And not a great O-line either, so that O-line's actually not playing horrible, but it's not good either. Then we have number 5, Nick Chubb. I see so many ways that he should get more snaps and more carries that I just think it's going to happen, whether Hyde gets banged up or whether they have the lead in a game because their defense is playing well, or Nick Chubb breaks off a run, or the coach just decides to give Chubb more carries. There's just so many ways he can be successful. And last week, I think he only got like 3 carries, but he got 105 yards and a touchdown. And I know that's not really good indication of someone you can trust. But look, I know well over half of you watching this video need a running back. So Nick Chubb, he is a quality pickup, probably a guy you want to bench, as a stash, but worth an ad. And now we're getting into super deep leagues here, guys. Jalen Richard is good in deep PPR leagues. Rod Smith is a handcuff. Chase Edmonds is a handcuff. Alfred Blue, he's not that good. And the Texans don't really have kind of like the Bucks. They're probably not going to have any running backs that would be successful on the Texans. But Lamar Miller is a little bit banged up. The injury seems minor, so that's why I have Alfred Blue here. If Mixon misses more games, we have Mark Walton. Corey Grant is good in deep leagues if Fournette is out. Then we have Spencer Ware as a handcuff for Hunt owners. Latavius Murray, Dalvin Cook said he's not 100%. Wayne Gallman as a handcuff for Saquon Barkley. And it's not really a ranking, but I just wanted to remind you guys to keep tabs on this Philadelphia Eagles running back situation. Is Darren Sproles injured? Is Clement injured? Is Ajayi injured? He's healthy right now, but always keep tabs on that. When you're on a good team like the Eagles, picking up the starting running back or sometimes the backup running back even is a good idea and a good spot start, especially with these bye weeks that are going to be hitting soon, guys. Wide receivers. Antonio Callaway needs to be added in every league. He just has that upside. Willie Snead, sort of the opposite of Antonio Callaway. A little bit more boring, a little bit higher floor, not as high as a ceiling. But he'll likely be faced up against the weakest matchups. He'll either be single covered and or be defended by the weakest cornerback, the weakest defensive back on the opposing team, while the opposing defense is trying to stop Crabtree and John Brown, and even those 2 running backs, Collins and Buck Allen. So that's why I like Willie Snead, sort of a safe play. Then we have Kiki Qt. Man, this one is a high. I can even rank this guy number 1. This is a high upside wide receiver. Look, if you're in a deep PPR league, definitely put in a claim to go get Kiki. Will Fuller is banged up. The injury may not be significant, but Bruce Ellington, who played the same position, he's out for the year. He's done. So even if Will Fuller does come back, I still like Kiki. Then we have D.D. Westbrook, Jacksonville Jaguars. You guys know I'm high on him. Lots of upside there. He's a really good wide receiver. He's a starting wide receiver. Could be a shootout this week. DJ Moore has done absolutely nothing. He's getting no targets, no snaps. I just don't see a realistic scenario that this guy doesn't get more involved in this offense. So maybe after that bye week, they're going to start using DJ Moore more. And if I'm not mistaken, he was the first wide receiver drafted. They probably should have got Calvin Ridley, but I don't know. It's just a bit perplexing. I thought he'd be better. Maybe after the bye week, he is better. But I do get it. If you're in a shallow league, you don't put in a waiver claim for DJ Moore. You have enough wide receivers. Kelvin Benjamin, starting wide receiver on the Bills. Cortland Sutton. Cole Beasley. Just keep tabs on T.Y. Hilton's injury. He did not practice today, so Tuesday he did not practice. That's not a good sign that he will play on a short week in New England on Thursday Night Football. So if he doesn't go, Pascal, Rodgers, or Grant, they'll get a lot more snaps, a lot more targets. The thing with this is Andrew Luck loves to spread the ball. He also loves throwing to his tight ends, and he loves throwing to Nyheim Hines, now that we know that. Dante Moncrief, Chris Conley, if Sammy Watkins is injured. He got hurt week 4 in that Monday Night Football game. Then we have Robbie Anderson and the homie Taylor Gabriel, who had an amazing game week 4. I liked him as a super sleeper wide receiver, but Trubisky and Taylor Gabriel shocked even me. What a game by that Bears offense. And of course, the Bears defense is super duper elite. And guys, you can go ahead and drop Brandon Marshall unless you're in a 20-team league or something like that. He's not going to be worth a roster spot. Definitely not worth starting with Doug Baldwin back. And he may not even be in the starting lineup going forward. He may not even be on the field in 3 wide receiver sets anymore. I told you guys last week, it wasn't just the stiff arm, but I like Vance McDonald. He's definitely the #1 tight end, hands down, on my list to add. With all the drama going on in Pittsburgh, Big Ben likes throwing to his tight ends, sort of replacing all those little receptions that Le'Veon Bell gets. And Vance McDonald keeps getting stronger, keeps getting more snaps, more targets. Enough said, #1 tight end this week. If you can afford to stash a tight end, we got Greg Olsen, who's hoping to come back in a few weeks. And time will fly, man. Maybe week 7, week 8, he'll be back. And we're already at week 5, so that's coming up pretty soon here. Time does fly. Ricky Seals-Jones, not great, not horrible. But, man, every tight end's hurt. Who's hurt? Eifert's done for the year. Disley's done for the year. Hunter Henry was done for the year. So many tight ends are injured. Gronk is banged up. Man, I'm forgetting so many other. Greg Olsen. Delaney Walker's out for the year. There's just so many players, so many tight ends that are out that Ricky Seals-Jones becomes a borderline tight end 1 some weeks, like because you're forced to start him basically. Then we have Austin Hooper of the Falcons. This is a good time to pick him up and start him if you absolutely have to. Hayden Hurst should be returning from injury. I do expect him to play week 5. He might be eased into the lineup, maybe not worth a start week 5. But, man, I really see him taking over that tight end 1 spot, being that receiving tight end, probably even the blocking tight end, just being the main tight end over there for the Ravens. And with the way Joe Flacco's playing, Hayden Hurst should be a good start moving forward. We're just assuming here, like we haven't really seen him play in the regular season ever, so we've seen him in the preseason a little bit though, and what I've seen from him, I liked. Then we have Jack Doyle. I don't think he's going to play week 5. I don't really know, but because it's a short week, I just assume he won't play. But nonetheless, a good a good stash, and he's being dropped in a few leagues. We have Charles Clay, Cameron Brate with O.J. Howard missing 2 to 4 weeks, but Cameron Brate is on bye, so you can't start him this week. Ian Thomas, that's Greg Olsen's backup. And this is a pretty big controversy here. Well, not really controversy, but we're just guessing which Bengals tight end will be better, which one's worth to add. And, I mean, it's both. But if I had to say which one's going to be better in fantasy, I'd say C.J. Uzomah. And I think Uzama's improving, and Tyler Kroft, used to be the main backup, but I think he won't be as good. So, I think Uzama's better at catching the ball, but he's way better at blocking. So it's going to be tough to predict which one's good. Both are worth an add, but if I had to put my money on one tight end, it's going to be C.J. Uzomah out of those 2 Bengal tight ends. Number 12, Jeff Heuerman. Man, he's a starting tight end for the Broncos. Oh, there's another one that's out. Jake Butt is done for the year. So, man, there's a lot of tight ends to pick up. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, never really liked him, but with all these injuries, he is worth an add. Jeff Swaim, he's pretty good. He's definitely going to be tight end 1 for the Cowboys moving forward. Nick Van Nett, because Will Disley is out. Then we have Antonio Gates, Rhett Ellison with Ingram being out a couple more weeks. Dallas Goedert is sort of a handcuff. Vernon Davis as a handcuff. Then we have Luke Wilson in Detroit and Mike Gesicki in Miami. Lots of great defenses to pick up. All of these defenses are quality. My number 1 defense to stream is the tight ends defense. I actually tried to add him in all my leagues last week. I was able to get him in 2 or 3 leagues. I think I drafted him in 1 league. So I have him in half my leagues, and I'm ready to start him this week. In 1 league, I couldn't get the Titans D, so I streamed the Cardinals D ahead of time. That's what a lot of injuries, had to drop a lot of players. So, hey, I can afford to have 2 defenses on my team because my bench is looking that bad, and it's a deep bench. Another great streaming option is the Panthers defense coming off a bye, fully rested, going against the Giants who can't do anything. Then we have the Broncos defense going against the Jets. The Jets offense is far from potent. Niners going against the Cardinals in a low-scoring game where the 49ers are favored to win. Then we have the Patriots going against the Colts Thursday night. So if all these players are out, like if Hilton is out, Marlon Mack is out, and Jack Doyle is out, then I give the Patriots a boost. But this could be a high-scoring game, could be a shootout. This is exactly what I think. I think this is super risky. It could be low-scoring. It could be a huge shootout. Andrew Luck should play well, but may not. Like, I really don't know. And his Thursday night games are so risky. But the Patriots D, you can do a lot worse than the Patriots D. And the Texans, I have number 6. They're also super risky, just like the Patriots D, because they're going against the Cowboys, who can't throw the ball well. But this defense is so whack that maybe we see Dak Prescott have more than 250 passing yards. Oh my, what mind-blowing. He can actually do it against the Texans. But I did start the Texans last week, which they did good. They got to Andrew Luck a lot. They just couldn't stop him in the pass game. So they actually put up a good amount of points. And then they face the Bills next week. So if you have the Texans D, probably worth holding on to. Like, I definitely like these other defenses more. Like, I would start the Broncos D, the Panthers D, the Titans D over the Texans. But if you do have them, you may want to hold on to them, because that Week 6 matchup is juicy. And number 7, the Cardinals against the Niners in a low-scoring game. Do you need a kicker this week? Well, we have lots of great kickers. Ryan Succop, my absolute favorite kicker this week, going against the Bills. I love the Titans defense. Love the Titans kicker. Now, I wasn't too high on him during the preseason because the Titans just don't seem like their offense is potent enough to give enough opportunities for Succop. But this week, they'll have the opportunities. And Succop's been even more accurate than I thought. I already knew he was good. He was accurate. This guy's basically automatic. Robbie Gould, another guy who's so accurate. He's been even more accurate now that ever since he's been on the Niners and they've got Jimmy Garoppolo. This guy is so good, and it's a great matchup. Robbie Gould probably owned in your league, and Ryan Succop's owned in a good amount of leagues, but I think Ryan Succop's owned in about half leagues and Robbie Gould in 60%. So there's a good chance these guys are available. Jake Elliott, I love him this week, but super risky. Not quite as reliable as Succop and Gould, but I still like Jake Elliott this week and moving forward. Brandon McManus, he's been super reliable, has a good matchup. Graham Gano going against the Giants. Sam Ficken, don't really like him. He's not that accurate. He's not that good. He's probably not even half as good as Greg Zuerlein, but I do love this matchup. If he's able to make his field goals, I love it. He'll get a lot of opportunities to get extra points and field goals. Josh Lambo, Kaimi Fairbairn, the Texans kicker, Chris Boswell, Randy Bullock, Dustin Hopkins. Now we're getting into deep leagues. I'm sure you can find, one of these top 5, Gano, McManus, Elliott, Gould, or Succop. If you're in a deep league, I just wanted to give some more options. And even more options. We have the Raiders kicker. If Mike Nugent is out, then we go with Matt McCrane again. Aldrick Rosas, not really great matchup this week. He's been really accurate. It's just that the Giants offense, I just don't really trust them to give Rosas that many opportunities, as he deserves. And then we have the Cowboys kicker. Boy, I don't know why they got rid of Dan Bailey. Congrats to last week's winner. I will give you a free PFF subscription. That is Brett Thunstrom. Congratulations, man. I'll hit you up. Just hit me up and I will give you a free code, so you'll get a PFF subscription for this year. And guys, make sure you guys go to PFF Pro Football Focus. Use MVP20 to save 20%. I really appreciate it. It really helps support this channel. And PFF, of course, is awesome. Which Bengals tight end would you pick up? Leave a comment below. Let me know. And if you have any other fantasy questions, use hashtag Ask the Brain. That way I know you're a true fan and you know what the real deal is. I'll be having another giveaway on our second channel. A lot of people don't know that, so make sure you subscribe to this channel. Also, make sure you subscribe to our second channel, Fantasy Couch Podcast. We go live right after the Thursday night football games, and then we upload that podcast to iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, so make sure you subscribe to both. I'll see you guys on the next live stream /video.